welcome back to JavaScript Playground. Let's say we have this person object and it has some properties and method. Now say we needed to create two more person objects. So for that we can simply write more code and create new person objects. But say we had to create 1,000 new person objects. So writing all that code will be very difficult and it will result in a lot of code repetition. To solve this problem, what we need is a way to generate the same object for different values. We can create a function which takes the values and returns new objects. Basically, this function acts as a blueprint for the objects. In other programming languages, it would be called as classes. But in JavaScript, we call it constructor or a prototype. Based on this constructor, we can create as many new objects as we want. These new objects are called instances. As you can see here, there are 3 person instances which are created from the same person constructor. Let's give it a try. Let's say we have this person object and we want to create a constructor function which can generate any number of instances of this object. So let's say the constructor function name should start with a capital letter. It is just a standard practice. If you write it in small letters, JavaScript wouldn't give you an error. Now let's try adding some properties. So this.name. And to initialize these properties with some values, we can add some arguments. Say name, year of birth, and job. So this .name is equal to pname. So what we're doing is we're setting the value which is coming from the arguments to this property. Similarly, for this year of birth, we can do p year of birth, and similarly we can do it for job. Now this function person or a constructor person will act as an object factory for us. So to create a new instance, we can do something like this. Say variable John is equal to new person, and we can pass the values here. Say John, we can give an year of birth, say 92, and job as say pilot. So just like we use var to define variables and function keyword to define functions, we use new keyword to define instances. And this creation of new instance is called instantiation. So let's try to understand what is happening in this line of code. So this new keyword, it creates a new object which is empty by default. Then this constructor function is called, which sets the argument values to the object properties, and it creates an object for us. So let's try printing it. Say console log, and let's just print John. So when I run it, as you can see, we get an object with these 3 properties, job, name, and year of birth. And it has these values that we passed here in the constructor function when we were creating a new object. Similarly, if you wanted to add a method, we can simply add it inside the constructor function. So let's say this dot calculate age. This could be an anonymous function. And let's say this function prints the age. So current year is 2019 minus whatever is the year of birth. Let's give it a try. So John dot calculate age followed by parentheses because we want to call this function. And as you can see, it's giving us 27 and undefined. So undefined is because this function is not returning anything and we tried to print it. So if we try again, it gives us 27. Similarly, let's try creating some more instance of this object. So let's say Claire is equal to new person. So this will create a new object or a new instance, and we can pass the values here. So Claire, let's say 94, and doctor. Let's try printing this. So console log and Claire. So as you can see, it's giving us this object which contains the data that we passed along with a function, calculate age. So if we change it to Claire.calculate age, sorry, it gives us 25. So that's how you can create n number of instances using this function constructor. And that's all for today.